Thank you for tuning into another episode of Turek Books. We're back recording at Bad Animal Bookstore. Not this moment, this is just the intro. I want to let you know I'm hosting my first ever poetry workshop. If you're trying to deepen your practice as a writer, or you're trying to figure out how to share your writing more, get into self-publishing, all these things, I'll be going over all of it on Zoom, November 8th and 9th. I'd love if you join. I think it's going to be a good time. Check out my website, joshuaturek.com, for details. And anyway, excited to get back into this. All right.
Welcome to Turek Books Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Joshua Turek. We're never going to read all the books we want, but when someone tells us about a book, that's its own valid form of experiencing it. Our guests come in to talk about the books that left lasting marks on them as readers, and that becomes a springboard to who they are, who I am, and maybe who all of us are. So sit back, relax, and enjoy it. And who knows, maybe you'll end up grabbing a book or two. Maybe you've read some of them and it's nice to hear someone else talk about them. We want this to be like a book club, but without the guilt.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Turek Books. Welcome back. I am up in Santa Cruz, California in Bad Animal Bookstore, my favorite used bookstore here. I'm going to be recording the show here in the foreseeable future, both remote and in person. I'll save you all the personal details how I ended up in Santa Cruz because I'm so excited for our guest today. She's a filmmaker and an artist and my friend, Maddy Power. Welcome to Turek Books.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, talk books, life.
I saw you. I went down to LA to do some poetry readings. You were nice enough to come to one of mine. I saw you. I was reminded of how much I enjoy our conversations. I feel like we even had a conversation floating in the ocean off of Manhattan Beach, a very conspiratorial, inside baseball, political. What a beaut. Yeah, that's such a vivid memory, just kind of floating around, going, oh, and the other thing about Epstein, and it was cool.
Totally. I feel like you and I, when we're together, we just talk about how it's all connected. We can keep going.
It really is. Oh, we can connect the dots.
Yeah.
100%.
We're spotting the same patterns.
Same patterns, yeah. And, especially this year, we've really kind of both been a little destabilized with our living situations and all that from the wildfires. But I'm just thrilled to restart my podcast with you. We even talked a little smack about Miranda July the other night at Reverie Book Stand in Echo Park. We don't need to get into that necessarily, but just want people to know that we're willing to go against the tide. That's all.
I'm willing to go against the tide. I also feel like I try to practice feminism. That's like, I think about it so much. I'm willing to have criticisms of Miranda July. That's important to my feminism.
That's how deep into it you go.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, maybe it's just a tone thing, but yeah, it was really fun to see the show and talk to you. I told you this in DMs, but I love seeing you live. It feels like mini plays. It was so fun.
Yeah, that was such a cool thing to hear. That was so accurate, actually. I've actually been looking at my performance because I use characters and music, and it's kind of clunky and clumsy on purpose. But yeah, mini plays. That is what it is. Because there's a risk if you tell someone, hey, will you come to my poetry reading? It's like, I don't do that. That's boring. I can't watch someone read and navel gaze. But yeah, hopefully it is a little more theatrical, but not too big either. Why don't we get right into it? How's your reading life these days?
So I think my relationship with reading post-fire, obviously you know this, but my house burned down in Alta Dena in January. So I lost all of my books, or most of them, except for the two that I grabbed. I ran back to the house and grabbed, and then I brought for the podcast. But the loss of my books has been a whole part of this, of the last, what is it now, like 10 months. Finding new books and new relationships with those books and like kind of grieving the loss of a lot of books that I had. I grew up in a really literary family, so A lot of the books that I had brought from home. You know, I'm from Wisconsin. I brought them over here. I have like a lot of books that I grew up with, like books from my childhood home that I have stolen from my parents who have like an incredible library. Um, I had like a collection of first edition Richard Brautigan's, like just books that I like comfort books, you know, that if I'm feeling a certain way, I'll turn to that I lost. And so I think that my relationship with reading right now, it's like I'm navigating it and I'm like finding a new relationship with it. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, what an intense not exercise, experience in life. You accumulate your books, you value your books, and then a day later they're gone. What's that process been like? I mean, because sometimes I don't remember I've read a book until I see it, and that's the beautiful comfort of a bookshelf in your home. Can you walk me through that a little bit? I imagine you've had to grieve your books.
Definitely. Grieving my books and then also establishing a new relationship with having books. Like maybe I don't need to own physical books to like know that I have a connection with them. Like what you just said, sometimes I don't remember I read a book until I see it, you know. So it's like maybe I don't need to have like physical proof that, you know, because a lot of like book owning is like, yeah, I own this book. It can be a bit of like signaling, not
Yes.
having really any books now or really any things. I mean, I have the same relationship with like clothing and everything else that I lost. But books specifically is funny because I'll have people come over and invite them into my space, and I do kind of clock like, oh, I don't have really any. They're seeing a version of my life without any books, you know. And I just
Yeah.
grew up in a family of books so much that like you go over to my parents' house, and that's the main thing about my parents' house, I would say, is that it's like a small brick house and it is full of books. So I've always had it tied to my identity, you know, if not just reading books, but like just I'm surrounded by books. And like if you come over to my house, it's clear that I like read, you know, the virtue signaling of it is part of it.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's not even as widely valued by society as readers think it is. So, yeah, it's like extra special to us. And so your parents grew up surrounding you by books. So you've been reading from the get-go.
Yeah, definitely. My parents are two of the best well-read people I know. Like they are always reading. They read all different types of things. Like both of them, rarely do I ask them if they have read a book, like a famous book or a classic, and they say no. Like at least one of them has read it. And my dad, especially, his taste is he reads a lot of like new fiction, he reads a lot of female authors. He's often the one coming to me being like, "Did you read Crying in H Mart?" You know, he's it's so sweet. Like he's really such a feminist reader, and he's always gifting me books about fiction and nonfiction about like historical women, which is cool. But yeah, I definitely earliest memories are like my parents reading to me, and my I have three older brothers, and one of them teaches writing at the University of Minnesota, and he himself is a writer and writes YA fiction.
Yeah, so you're surrounded by the written word. And when you said you ran into your house to grab two books, do you have those two books still?
Yeah, I do. And afterward, like obviously at the time, the way that the night of the fire went for me and my roommate and our household was like we definitely did not think our house would burn down. We were west of lake, so we were about 2.5 miles from Eaton Canyon. So we could see the fire from our backyard, but I really did not think our house was going to burn down because I was like, there's no way that the city will let the fire travel and burn down like 2 miles of homes, which is what would have to happen for it to get to our house. Obviously, that did happen, but I was just in a daze, not really processing what could really happen. I had to pack up things in like 15 minutes. But I did obviously, I think like subconsciously deep have a worry that I was going to lose everything because I did grab some things. So looking back at like those things that I grabbed, it's very telling to like to me, I think. And the two books that I grabbed are very telling. So I grabbed this collection of Herzog interviews,
Nice.
A Guide for the Perplexed, and I grabbed my Agnes Varda interviews. So,
And had you been reading those at that time, or were they just largely significant books to you?
they're two books that because I'm making a documentary right now, I've just kind of I pick up and I read every once in a while, and if I feel stuck or lost or like I appreciate both of them because they are documentary filmmakers before the digital age, kind of like pre-internet. I really like to read what they say about things because it feels outside of like the digital algorithm zeitgeist. There's a purity to it, even if I don't necessarily agree with everything Herzog's crazy ass is saying, but I appreciate him and like I like to read these interviews with filmmakers and artists like prior to the fear of being canceled, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
there's one other thing that I grabbed that I just want that is of note that is not technically a book, but it is written words. I estate sale all the time. Like I used to sell vintage, and I went to this estate sale. I don't know if it was in Alta Dena proper or just like maybe on the periphery of Alta Dena, but very close. And it was this house that this woman lived in, and her son actually had died. So two generations of this family had lived in this house. And he, I think, like started Blockbuster because the basement was like full of unopened VHSs from Blockbuster. It was amazing. And the upstairs in the trash, I found all of these old diaries
Whoa.
that were his mother's. So again, it's not really a book, but I did want to show because I was like driving to evacuate out of the house, and I like these just came into my mind, and I was like, I have to go get those diaries. And so yeah, they're amazing. I've scanned them in because I find them so special, but it's basically this woman's it's hundreds of lists that she made that is presents for her family, like just things that she bought for everybody in her life. It's her kids, it's her husband, it's like the neighbors. And it's truly remarkable. Like this woman, she kept a record of everything, you know, and it's all dated to like Friday, September 24th, 1965, cowboy boots, a sharp knife. Like she's buying her kids awesome shit, you know, 1968 dark blue navy sweater. Like I like it because it's documentation of the work of a housewife. It feels related to the other books, you know?
Yeah, all of them seem to exist in the world without the internet and documenting life. And my friend said something that I just can't forget, which is like today's diary entry, no matter how boring it seems to you, in like 20, 30 years, it's going to be compelling to someone. And you've just proven it doesn't even have to be a diary entry so much as it's notes to self. It's like a to-do list or a little catalog of what she's buying for her family. It is. It speaks so much, and fascinating that it spoke so much that you ran back into the house to get it.
Yeah, I love that.
Have you fully figured out why you needed those diaries? Or is it still a little bit of a mystery? And
I
is
mean,
that the fun part too?
I don't know if I figured out why, but what I know about myself is that I love strangers' personal collections like that. Like prior to the fire, I had a collection of strangers' home videos that I found at estate sales, you know, like Deborah's retirement party 1996, or a lot of collections of just like PBS specials that people had recorded. And I love like watching those and being like, this person really went out of their way to like record this PBS special on the Cold War. And I don't know. I love that. I'm somebody that like if I'm in an elevator and you're a stranger and you're next to me and you're texting, 100% I'm trying to read your text.
Okay.
I'm not someone that will read my boyfriend's
Right.
texts or like a friend's. I have no interest. I respect boundaries, but if I don't know anything about you and you look like you're in a different social scene than me, especially, I'm like, "Pff, I'm reading your text, dude.
So it's safe to say like
I
your superpower would be to be invisible. I mean, you're a documentary filmmaker. It makes sense that you're fascinated by the things that aren't immediately obvious to people,
Yeah, I like the mundane too. Like an activity for me is I just go up to Griffith Park and I sit on the bench and I just wait for a character to come,
and they do, don't
you
they?
know. Oh, every time. Yeah, so I don't know what any of that means, but that is like what I'm interested in is voyeurism. And I love nonfiction. I love books of letters. Like I used to have this book of letters that Emily Dickinson wrote her sister. I love any kind of book of interviews. Oh, one of my favorite books of all time, and it's a comfort book for me, is David Sedaris's Theft and Finding. Do you know about this book?
Mm-mm, what is it?
It's a collection of his diary entries from 1977 to like 2006, I believe. Because he's somebody who writes in a diary every day. So you see him, in 1977, he's a young person. And he had such a late start to his career. And so at the beginning of this book, he's writing pretty unfiltered. Like he did go back, he says in the foreword, like he did edit a lot of this diary, but kept it as true as he could without like outing people for certain behaviors. But he is a meth head. Like David Sedaris in the late 70s was like doing meth, trying to be a sculptor, living in like on couches of his friends, like just kind of a mess. And so you see him get his shit together and become a writer and really feel that he's a writer and gain confidence and then become a famous author. But to see to read to experience that journey through diary entries, and most of the time his thing is going to 24-hour IHOPs, and so he's like in IHOP like writing and observing the world, and you see him, yeah, like why do I love this book? I think I return to Theft and Finding when I feel uninspired by the mundane and I feel like there's nothing new in this city or something, or like I'm not interested in the world. Like that is to me the worst. That's my fear, is that like one day I'm like not going to be curious anymore, because I think that's my whole thing, and that's like my favorite quality in myself is like I'm so interested and I'm curious. So I think when I need to tap into that, I'll open up Theft and Finding. It's also just hilarious. And he says yes to everything. Like he has all this material and all these stories because if a crazy person on drugs and knocks on his door in Chicago in 1985, he will like answer it and let them in. And then something amazing happens, and he has a story from it. So I think this book reminds me too to like allow things to happen.
Yeah, to stay open to the world. It
Yeah.
sparks you back to that place of, oh, wait, all I need to do is go sit on a bench in Griffith Park and the world will find me and I'll find the world and we'll meet there, even if it's just in passing, even if it's this intimate moment where I'm not even talking to the person, but I might be the only one who hears what they're saying. As they mumble to themselves, or they're on their phone call to nobody. If it's LA, they might be on a phone call to nobody, which is frequent. But you're reminding me that, like, yeah, why do we even need our cell phones when the people around us are so fascinating? If we just that was a thing we used to say, I like to people watch, and it's like, yeah, because people are fascinating, and they're kind of the last frontier. Like they're not the last frontier. They're the bedrock against technology and everything, because nothing's more fascinating to people than other people. You're also making me realize how dangerous it is to host a podcast in a bookstore, because I've never read David Sedaris and I've never had an accurate reason why I should, but not that you're trying to sell me on him, but you did. And so now I'm like, okay, all I got to do is walk out of these doors and go look for him after the show. And yeah, anyway, it's gonna be like this is entrapment. They're trapping me here to
Totally.
they're trying to get me to buy all their books, and it's gonna work. No, I'm kidding. They don't need to nudge me here.
Yeah, I would recommend if they have Theft and Finding,
Yes.
just like it's a great book because it's just diary entries, so you can just open it up to any page. Um, to me, it is a laugh out loud book, but he has a specific voice, so it's not for everybody. But I find him just like so
Yeah.
funny.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Yeah, no, I don't think his voice has ever grabbed me, but everything you just described is right up my alley. And yeah, just that idea of being open to the world, someone knocking on your door and being willing to entertain them. It's something I grapple with every day, especially as I get older. I feel like I can, accurate or not, size a person up pretty fast and what our dynamic could or couldn't be, whatever. And I just find that even walking my dog on the street, I cancel out people before we ever get a chance to talk to one another. And it's not what I want to, it's not the way I want to live. So, uh,
I have a question for you. Do you enjoy like being wrong about people? Like when you have a idea of like how somebody probably is and then you're proven wrong, do you like being wrong or are you like mad that you're wrong?
I do like it, but it unnerves me deeply
Hmm.
because then I'm like, okay, damn, does that mean the people I think I'm right about, I'm wrong about? Because I've been wrong about people and the people that I thought I was right about.
Yeah.
That's the traditional one, but no, there is one, and it happened recently. I can't remember who it was, but I don't didn't think we would vibe. I didn't think I'd like them, but the opposite happened. And over time, whoever this person was, it might have had something to do with going back to LA for the few days that I was there. But yeah, whoever this person was, I was like thinking to myself, man, I was wrong about them. And what does that mean? But then it's also like bringing that level of decisiveness to people is so harsh because it's like, okay, I could be right about someone and then wrong about them and then right about them. And the strength comes in whether I'm zoomed out enough to understand that people are fallible and I'm fallible, and the patience required to have a relationship and the strength required to keep relationships is a big deal. But yeah, I mean, it could be as simple as the the barista you don't hit it off with at first, and then you're like, oh no, actually that barista's really cool. They just don't like working there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reminded right now of this, I think it was a meme that I saw, or it was a screenshot of an article headline. I believe it was like the New Yorker or the Cut or something, that it was a person writing in for advice, and the headline was like, I just found out that, or I don't know my new neighbor's political views, help. And it was a serious, like, this person doesn't quite know their neighbors like political which way they lean and they don't know how to deal with that, and I think maybe even there's an element of like they don't know if they should let their kids play or something. And this conversation made me think of that
Mm,
because we I find it in myself, and just like because we're so online and we're like so pushed into the vacuums of the algorithms of how we think, we're becoming much more polar and a binary culture, you know,
100%.
which,
Like we went camping this summer up in Northern California on this bluff, and it was a bunch of F-250s and F-350s and us, and I was like, okay, I guess the Republicans are the only ones having fun right now in nature. Wow. And then some guy wanders over, he's bottle of tequila he's throwing away in the dumpster by our camping tent, and like he couldn't have been nicer. He was like being so considerate, and yeah, I don't know. It's like my friend Brian, who I hung out with down in LA, we drove to Joshua Tree together for that show. He and I made this like $20,000 indie film. Him and his partner Galen did, but I was like the actor in it years ago. And we went to all these creepy little towns up in the Delta in Northern California between Sacramento and San Francisco, and we'd go there like and the story that he had written was really creepy. So we'd go there with like this real creepiness factor, and the setting looked creepy. A lot of ghost towns and kind of abandoned little spots, but everyone was nice to us. And so at some point it was like, no, we're the creepy ones. It's not it's not the scenery, it's not the people. We're bringing the creepiness, and that's the big thing, is like, what are we bringing out into the world? And you're right, our behavior is being modified by the internet. That's a fact. And yeah, having to really check ourselves about that, because you said your favorite thing about yourself is your curiosity, and I'm in agreement with myself. And it's like, okay, but if I'm letting these tools and machines dim that curiosity, then I'm at war.
Well, I think that we do need to treat it as a war. Like, we need to, with AI and with our digital worlds taking over so much of our attention and our time and our brains, we got to treat like keeping our humanness and our compassion like it's a war. Like, I really believe that.
I think you're right.
And staying smart, like even with AI, with like continuing to write and read, I worry that is a skill that is going to go away with generations.
It already wasn't in fashion. I mean, all the studies talking about the level that most Americans read at, the percentage of Americans who've read one book in the last year. The numbers have not been encouraging. And then AI, now we're having students start to use AI. Even doing your homework at the last minute was a burst of finding knowledge and regurgitating it. Even if you were just kind of faking it to make it in your classes, there was still learning involved in that. And using these learning machines to outsource our experience and the work, the internal, external work we do. Yeah, I'm with you. It is a war, and these things are designed with predatory intentions. So yeah, we absolutely have to be willing to clash with that. And yeah, just even in our conversations with ourselves, be like, okay, I'm losing something if I just accept what's being given to me right now with all this technology. And you brought up your books, how you like hearing from people who are pre-internet, and you said, pre-cancellation, because then they were just more raw and honest, and they're like speaking what's actually in their hearts and what their experiences have been. But that really is a thing with books. They're like, you can burn them, but you can't unplug them, and they can't take them away from us if we have them in a nice hiding spot.
Books are like punk rock. Like, and because a lot of, especially fiction, writing fiction is a way to talk about things that are going on that might be scary now to talk about explicitly, but with fiction and with maybe nonfiction too, you can talk about it in a coded way. I would say filmmaking is the same way. It's speaking in code. But yeah, preparing for this podcast too, and like just going back through these books, I was thinking a lot about, and I think about this a lot with the internet, how coded language almost is now, and how like me being someone who I would identify on the left, I don't feel fully like I can share all of my opinions or something in the public sphere, because I would feel scared of like certain feminists or certain people who, on even the side that I would align with, that we probably do agree with most things, I would feel like kind of nervous. And so there's something about like, there's people that really profit off of us hating each other and like fighting over like truly what is semantic differences often. There's people that like, the people in charge and in power, and I'm not even saying this is a conscious thing, but it's like, it's happening. There's people that really benefit from that. And it's like, they're not even telling us what we can and can't say. They have it so the machine's running itself. It's like, we're monitoring each other. And I find it really interesting. And I found that I was thinking about that a lot in reading these books of, two amazing thinkers who seems like they're speaking without considering that.
Yeah, not afraid to say the ugly things. They're not even cognizant that you shouldn't in a sense, or maybe they are, but they're saying them anyway. But yeah, I mean, speaking to the era, it's just so tough because the some of those eras are detached to so much illness, social illness, and terrible things.
True.
And so you
Yeah.
do go, okay, no, I don't want to live in a world where people call people those names or this or that or the other. People talk to the opposite sex that way, whatever. But it's like, okay, that was 30, 40, 50 years ago. Like that stuff is still in us. It didn't just vanish. Like, and I mean, we're kind of seeing like when you bury what you think, it just gets repressed and shows up in all kinds of ugly ways. And yeah, you're not living in a freer world when expression censors itself to the levels that either side wants. I agree. I think there was this weird thing that happened 5, 6, 7 years ago among a lot of good things that happened. But yeah, people got scared to speak their mind or even pose questions that would allow them to figure something out. I put something on Threads about this comedy festival um, in Saudi Arabia that everyone's really up in arms about. Just there was a group of people who kind of asked the same thing, which was like, okay, but taking money in the United States is about as bad as it gets if we're to document all the terrible things the United States has done and continues to do, just on a mass scale. And then people explained to me why they found there to be a distinction, and I agreed with it. But I could see like if people really got aggressive and like, oh, one guy said he was unfollowing me, and I was like, okay, and the unfollow being the great like your voice,
Yeah.
your voice is now the door is shut on your voice, which it's fine, but to say that to someone, it's going, okay, I don't like that you even asked, and yeah, I don't know that does something to our society for sure.
I'm really scared of that. Like that is one of the scariest parts of our culture right now is that like we don't even want to question that we might there's a different opinion or a different way of looking at something sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Especially because I just like in that space, I like to live in like the gray area a bit and explore it and but with like I blame clickbait kind of with the rise of like binary thinking,
Clickbait and the
the
algorithmic silos to get you into one bit of information that just feeds your confirmation bias over and over again.
totally
But yeah, I agree. Then
we're
everything becomes so sensationalized, and everything is so like the temperature is so hot on everything.
totally. I went through to bring it back to like specifics of books. There's this quote that from Agnes Varda that struck me a bit because I was like, I wonder just the climate around if somebody were to say this now, I wonder if it would be different. But I'll read it to you because obviously I don't know if you're familiar with Varda, but she's known as like a feminist filmmaker, godmother of New Wave, French New Wave. She's like one of my favorite filmmakers. She makes like fiction, documentary, and sometimes hybrid stuff. So this is what she said. I feel bad that there is not more understanding in the women's movement. As feminists, we have to be tolerant with each other and even with men. That's the quote. It's pretty mild, but I was just like, I feel like I think that that would be like torn apart now
Tolerant with
online,
men.
right? Like, and I really agree with her. I think about how to bring men into feminism so much. It's like one of my things. I have three older brothers. I've been fighting with them since I came out of the womb. Like, I think that's why I love Agnes Varda is she talks about that a lot and talks about feminism including compassion and like folding men into the conversation. And I don't always see that in my daily life online and others. So I that struck me. I was like, this is funny. It's such a mild thing to say, you
Tolerant
know.
of men. Yeah, just that wording. Like when AI steals all the language models, it's like No, rejected. Tolerance and men, those don't go together. Boom, 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 boom. Questioning men, yes. Despising men, yes. No, I mean Bell Hooks does that in the book The Will to Change. She keeps going back to that point of like, hey, the patriarchy hurts men too. I was talking to my friend Morgan on the phone the other day. He has two little boys, and he's like, dude, these kids are so pure. I'll be talking about something, and then they'll be like, but daddy, da 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 da. And it's like, whoa, we're that. Like, we come out as like that, like pure and full of love. And whatever happens
Yeah.
along the way, it's abusive to men. Men having to uphold this idea of themselves that they don't even like. And we're seeing the ugliness of that. That Pete Hegseth getting on stage in front of all those generals, and you can see he doesn't even believe what he's saying, but he's like, I mean, he's basically, someone pointed out, just kind of like being homoerotic. He's like, I want you all in shape, I want, we got to have you fit,
Totally.
clean shaven. It's like this, like almost like homoerotic fantasy, and it's like maybe that is what's lurking there.
Probably. No, I know. It's like, is anyone like listening to what this guy is saying? He's not well,
It's a cry for
I,
help in front of all those generals.
of course. I mean, I think about this a lot with men that have been canceled too, that I'm like, they're doing weird stuff. Like, clearly they're not okay. Like, and not that I'm condemning any of it, and it's like case by case too, but I have had this desire as a feminist and as someone that I'm like, this is an urgent matter of like, we need to be bringing them more into the conversation and like asking them like what's going on, if on your end, rather than us prescribing them without their voice or something.
Yeah, 100%. This whole incel culture thing, it's like we haven't changed that much. So what around you has changed that's made these groups of men feel this way? And yeah, I mean the internet, it doesn't help. It's like we were saying,
It
to
doesn't help.
silo someone off. Everyone could be in their own little cult. Everyone could get fed this information from their cult. This teenage boy who unalived himself as a romantic gesture to his chatbot that was like the Dragon Queen from Game of Thrones. I don't know if you heard about that.
I haven't heard
Yeah,
about
this like
this.
AI chatbot fashioned after the Game of Thrones character. Kind of like in this really, you read the dialogue, it's like a bad teenage vampire melodrama. But yeah, the kid killed himself, and yeah, the technology isn't helping, but it's deeper than that. It's capitalism. It's having
Yeah.
our labor exploited at every turn. And yeah, it's just kind of the material conditions of our society and our environment, and how in our world we're treating our world, in my opinion.
I think back to like the way that I grew up. I call what I grew up in as girl boss or girl power generation. Obviously, like it worked. I am like a girl boss hashtag, but I also saw like there's some lost men and lost boys. Like I grew up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and six boys, six men from just my large group of friends in high school, in my grade and the grade a few grades ahead, six of them have either overdosed from heroin or killed themselves since graduating. And I don't know. I just find that I think a lot about that, and it makes me think about the language that we use and, how powerful words are, and how with the digital age, with algorithms, with clickbait being incentivized to make headlines really like sensational and sexy and divisive so they click on them. I don't know, I don't want to like reduce those suicides to just like the internet, but obviously like men are having a really hard time right now. They're like shooting up schools and doing just horrific things. It's like I wonder if there's a way to bring in more compassion or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. No, and there are just like these heavy clues in the books that we read, and like you were saying, books pre-internet. There's such a relief when you're reading a book pre-internet. You're just like, okay, that element, that nuisance isn't there. That surveillance device isn't there. That feeling of being watched. Even like I rewatched The Sopranos and they're committing all these crimes. And in my head, I'm like, there's a ring camera. Like, there's a ring camera. Where's the surveillance? Where's the surveillance camera? And it's like they didn't even have to think about that when they were whacking somebody. It was other, maybe fingerprints, maybe, but they had gloves, And to live in a world where you're you're that free, and that was just 20, 30 years ago. Um,
Yeah, things have changed really quickly,
but I have been
you
thinking
know.
about how just preserving books, just owning books is becoming a radical act because that's housing information. And yeah, and it's not algorithmic. It's not like, yeah, I don't know. It's speaking to a wider timeline. And since you lost your books in the fire, which is just terrible. And for anyone who's listening, I live near the other fire in LA, the Palisades fire, and my place didn't burn down. We were just evacuated, and then we came back, and there was a bunch of ash all over the inside of our apartment. And it smelled like a campfire the whole time. And there was a part of me that was like, I wish it all had burned. It would have been a little more straightforward, what I should
I
do.
have wondered a lot about that, about the situation that like you are in and so many people with both fires where your things didn't burn down, but they're not really redeemable, right? Or
Yeah, no,
they're
we had to throw away so much. And there were a bunch of books by the windows, threw away those. The rest I like wiped down with, whatever, like sanitizing cloth. But I don't know. I don't know what they were. I'm guessing it's fine. But yeah, just the point being, there was something in my mind as it was all happening, as I was evacuated in some. It's funny, even when our evacuation got lifted, right across the street was still under evacuation, like directly across the
mm,
street. So it was, weeks. Um, yeah, the idea of starting over. And now, our place in Tucson fell apart and I have all my books in storage. And similarly, I have this
mm.
feeling of like, I'm just going to sell all of them. Like, I want to just set up a table at a flea market and sell all my books. But then I go and I'm gathering milk crates, which I don't know if you know this, but milk crates are in high demand. They're not easy to find. Everyone
Really?
wants milk crates. The whole milk crate game, until you start looking for them, you don't realize like no, people want milk crates, and I get why. They're sturdy. You can see through them a little bit.
You can stack them.
You can what? Stack them.
You can stack them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it feels so good to stack these milk crates. I've got three and a
Mm.
half now. One's a little smaller than the others, but yeah, every time I go in there and take some books out of the boxes and put them in the milk crates, I'm like, oh no, I love that book. I love that book. That book makes me feel some kind of way. And yeah, I don't know. They are these sort of artifacts of where we're at. Like I read that Werner Herzog book that you have, the conversations, and I loved it. I've since had this weird turn on him where I almost feel like, is Werner Herzog a psyop too? And not in any kind of intentional way, but like, hey, the rugged individualism that is plaguing our society, he's kind of like the iconic indie awesome version of
Totally.
that. Um,
Yeah, he's a bit Indiana Jones, you know. He's a real like physical filmmaker. Like he's like you gotta what I mean, he's talks a lot about being a foot soldier,
right.
you know. He's like you gotta be a foot soldier in documentary and in filmmaking. You gotta be carrying all your gear up a mountain. Like it's inspiring, but I know what you mean. It's the most masculine version of a filmmaker, you know.
Yeah, and also like when I think, I mean, first off, it's fascinating everything he does, but have I been conditioned to find it fascinating? Because like he's going to these remote places, but there's still people living in those places. I don't. Why am I not finding them fascinating? And then the other part is when I think of him, it's like you have to go, like you just said, you have to go, leave your community, be by yourself if you have to, and go see what you need to see. the hero's quest kind of. But yeah, I don't know. Some part of me is like becoming increasingly skeptical just because the hyper individualization that's plaguing us, and we're seeing the way we're becoming atomized and lonely. And you brought up just your community where you came from and all of that. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. Herzog has there's a bit of like old school National Geographic about him, of just like dropping into this indigenous communities or communities that he is a voyeur in or something, and we're like, oh, he's so amazing, you know, totally.
but he does have
Uh,
that curiosity that speaks to us. And I think, and then the way he articulates it is in this thick German accent, and he's just very intelligent. And yeah, I mean, he is highlighting fascinating subject matter.
yeah, and there's something that I find really kind of endearing about Herzog and funny and really striking reading these interviews right now while I am like an online person, is that he doesn't get irony. Like, do you remember this part of this book? He talks a lot about how like he doesn't like irony, he does not get it. It's like completely over his head. Like there's this story, he gets pranked by his friends a lot, like Harmony Korine, who wrote the foreword, but Harmony Korine will just prank call him and he doesn't catch on to it because he just like doesn't understand irony. It's so funny to me. It's so funny to me because irony is so embedded, especially online. And like, you and I are from this kind of niche East Side LA comedy scene that like we speak in kind of an ironic language and it's a bit coded, that it's striking to me to like read somebody so sincere talking about the merits of filmmaking and story and curiosity in like such a sincere way. It's like, no, you have to put on your boots and you have to grab your tripod and you need to like, what else are we here for? This is the only thing. Like, I really appreciate that.
Yes. Yes, he means it.
Yeah. And consuming so much irony as we all do, it does make me a bit like nihilistic or something, or
Yeah, it's this idea that because I've been bludgeoned with so much information, that the only way to emotionally process that is to feign ignorance at its importance, and to sort of, almost receive things in a cool, calm manner, even though they're extreme. And yeah, we're living in the most ironic age, like, yeah, I've watched a genocide unfold on my phone every day for
yeah.
2 years, and then I can go eat. I was talking about what's happening in Gaza at dinner last night, and my wife was just like, and she's as invested in, liberation, all these things as me, but with her dad, and she's kind of just like, no, it's not that you're talking about it, but you were bringing up some pretty gruesome parts as we're eating these nachos. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even think about it because I've been able to sort of, no, I've, through just being, like you were, through being voyeuristic and through having these windows into the world, yeah, we almost adopt an even further removal from those worlds emotionally as a coping mechanism or something.
It's hard though. It's hard to not be consumed with Gaza and what's going on, and not, because it does feel like the center of the universe. Often and all the time, it feels like everything kind of comes down to that, and like it also is so easy to pull threads and go, and like everything always kind of leads to Israel. It's like I have to take breaks sometimes just because I can't have that vision all the time of like, well, it's related because it's all related.
Yeah. Yeah, the United States nefarious plot through their Middle Eastern proxy, and yeah, how everything, the government shutdown right now, it's like how it always ties back in. And people do ask, why are you so consumed with this and not that? And it's like, yes, because this is the epicenter of what's plaguing us. in the United States and beyond. So yeah. But yeah, one thing that's interesting about the Herzog book too is like it's a conversation. And I love reading conversational books and oral history books, which is really funny because it's basically just a podcast, but on paper.
Yeah.
And it's better than
Yeah,
podcasts.
maybe that's a good, yeah, a little bit. There's probably less interruption or something. Yeah, maybe that is why I like it. I just feel like I'm kind of like, because I was talking about how I love to read strangers' texts. It's like I feel like I'm dropping in on like a very intimate conversation, and it feels more, there's just an honesty to it, or I can take it more at face value or something rather than a very curated statement about like how somebody feels. Like in the age of constant virtue signaling, I do seek out any opportunity I get to overhear a private conversation.
Yes.
Where people are speaking freely without virtue signaling or fear of being canceled.
Yeah, and the other part is even under the watchful eyes of cancel culture and government surveillance and whatever else it is,
And government, yeah, totally.
is the fact that having a conversation with someone reveals things about you that you wouldn't in a tidy standalone piece by yourself. Like people just bring things out of us that we forget are there, or that excite us enough that we're willing to cross certain social lines because there's something worthwhile that we feel should be said. So yeah, it's a really cool format and one that I'm really hooked on. And like musician memoirs, man, like I read Richard Hell's, which I just think is so great. And yeah, but there's parts where like he just straight looks ugly, like his behavior's ugly. And yeah, how are we gonna learn if we're not kind of getting it out there a little bit, as a means of conversation, not as a means of them being able to fine tune what they're selling to us.
Totally. I just really, reading these two books, I'm just like, I just really appreciate that these exist too, that like we decided we have all these collections of interviews, we're gonna like make it into a book. Like it makes me appreciate the art of bookmaking.
Yeah. Yeah, as someone who's self-published my poetry books, it's like when they arrive, you're like, okay, yeah, that's what that is. Like you see it in a different way. And you were nice enough to buy my first poetry book, and then that burned in the Alta Dena fire, and it led me to think like I think 5 of my poetry books burned in the Alta Dena and Palisades fires, which I don't know, it's just this little piece of yourself that you send out into the world, and you're like, okay, even if I'm not here, this little piece, it'll be under a stack of books somewhere. And it's like yeah, I don't know, it just has a body too. Even books have bodies, and they
have souls. And I especially love when I buy a used book and there's somebody's name in it.
Yeah.
I had so many of those that burned too.
Damn.
But yeah, what you were just saying of like reading, I love to read musicians' memoirs too. I often read memoirs of musicians of like bands I've not even really listened to. Like I read Kim Gordon, and like I'm not even really a Sonic Youth fan. Yeah, I just I will. Those are the things I consume the quickest. I'm just like num because they're so fun. Life of a rock star. But yeah, reading like and seeing the ugliness of their lives, like I love memoirs for that. I think because my own relationship with like how I have been recording my own life with like my phone is it's very curated to how I want to remember myself, or like things that I shared online or something, which is obviously very curated. But I'll look at photos of me like 5 years ago. This is kind of embarrassing to admit, but I believe in honesty. But I'll look and it'll be like an edited photo, or I'll like put a filter on it, and I'll be like, my first instinct is like, wow, I used to be so much better looking 5 years ago. And then I'm like, wait, I don't actually think that's like what I really looked like. I think I have like the Paris filter on or something. And then I get really freaked out because I'm like, I don't have like accurate documentation of what I actually look like with the rise of like an Instagram filter.
It's
And
important to save
it's
shitty photos of
no.
yourself.
Yes, like 100%. And I clocked this about a year ago or like a year and a half ago. So I started documenting myself when I'm crying. So now I have all of these photos of me crying on my phone because I'm like, I need real pictures of myself. So now I just have like extreme, like filtered, beautiful photos and me crying. But
You gotta do like a few, just somewhere in between. Like I woke up like this, but yeah,
yeah,
it's important to keep a few photos of you at a bad angle because for that exact reason. I've got. Thank you for your honesty because yeah, of course we all do that, and you're like, oh boy, even a year ago, how has this happened? But then,
totally.
yeah, if you haven't been diligent enough about deleting your photos, there should be some bad ones in there. And thank God for those bad ones. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I've been struggling for a while now.
Speaking of photos, do you remember there's in the middle of the Herzog book, there is a bunch of photos of him, which I love. I love when books include
I do too.
pictures. But he's just like the most handsome dude. But yeah, like here's him playing soccer.
Yeah, so cool, and he has such like strong features. And how sad would it be if Werner Herzog had a hair transplant?
I know.
It's like I mean, speaking of like a timeline on a person, a man who's dedicated himself to art and whatever, how nice to see him unfold as he has. It's like,
Yeah, and letting the pieces
yeah,
fall.
letting the pieces fall. And what remains? What remains when those pieces fall? And, he's in his 80s and he's still making documentaries and still talking to people. So that's what remains.
Yeah, and actually Agnes Varda too, like I didn't really put this connection, but like, I mean, they're obviously both filmmakers, but Agnes Varda, since her death, she was also making documentaries and like fully just letting the pieces fall and like was an old woman on camera, which is almost like political
Yes.
right in our lands. Like when Alicia Keys or Pamela Anderson like go onto the red carpet without makeup, it's like a
Yeah.
headline, which making it a headline makes it a big deal, you know? It's like it's again, it's that like use of language and like using headlines and clickbait and language as a means to like decide what is noteworthy and therefore is like mind control.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
behavior modification. And we exist in this compromised state of language. Language is how we mediate our interactions with one another. And so it's a very powerful thing. People cast spells with language. And yeah, when you're hit with the volume of language and then that volume patterns start to emerge and those patterns start giving you a sense of what your reality is, it's damning. Yeah. No, it's bad. Media is bad.
It's really bad. It's really, really
I
bad.
I even like with this podcast, I asked my wife today, I'm like, should I even keep doing this? And then I thought, yeah, because I know this is a form of media, but it's like a very slow, it's dedicated to subjects that mean a lot to me, but also like I'm so sick of social media in the sense that like yeah, behavior modifying. Even as an artist, it's like if I post something and it gets rewarded, chances are good I'm probably gonna like seek that reward again, and it's gonna alter my creativity. So even that, like yeah, we're constantly and also this idea that there's a place for you to go say things. It's like yeah, so now you can be watched. Like people bring that up. Free speech is a means of hearing exactly what's going on in our minds, and then free speech contorted through yeah, this behavior modification. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. But books bring you back.
Totally.
Books bring you back.
Books do bring you back, and it brings you back to like our base level. Pre-internet books bring us back to base level, kind of.
Let me ask you,
I don't know.
when it comes to your book, your book's burned, except for two that you saved and the notes. How do you approach books moving forward? Are you going to try to amass a new collection?
You know, I don't really know. Like, I think the fire has made me a bit of it's made me reevaluate my relationship with stuff, you know, and how much stuff do I need? And do I need physical proof of like my identity, you know? Like I said at the beginning, like a lot of me, it made me come to terms with like, oh, I really used external physical things in the physical realm to like remind me who I am on the inside. And I wonder if now that I have this opportunity to create a new relationship with what I know about who I am on the inside, what a cool opportunity, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love libraries too, as you do as well. Like, I can think of the smell of my childhood library. Um, that I also like, I use the little free library. There's one up the street. So I use that a lot. Possibly. But I'm somebody that like, I'll either be reading, and consume a fiction book really quickly, but I also like to have like 3 to 4 books of different genres next to my nice bed of all time. Like I feel safe with a book by me,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're the same way. Like I like to have like a poetry book next to me. I like to have, a nonfiction book and then like a fiction that I'm reading.
Yeah, 100%. But you don't necessarily need to own them and let them gather dust on your shelves. Um,
I don't think I need to own them. Yeah.
I go back and forth. I've always been a minimalist, but I've always had books. I was at the storage facility yesterday organizing some of my books, and this guy from one of the other storage units called me over and he was like, "Hey, man, do you want any of this stuff? It's their family friends and they're getting old and I'm trying to help them." And he's like, "I mean, these people are hoarders." And he's like, "I mean, there's food here if you want it. It expired like 10 years ago. It's like rice-a-roni and Twix packages and, all these things." And I do find, I've had a destabilizing year and I've had to move twice this year. There's a strength to being adaptable and a strength to moving light. And I don't think the world is going to get any less destabilized. And so I think there is a strength. I went on comedy tour all summer. So I really, I've been in movement. And yeah, I think there's something to be said about that. Someone's got to have the books, though. And the public library, like you brought up, is that, I mean, that's truly the answer. A guy just walked in and delivered a bunch of
Yes.
wine while I was saying all that.
Yeah, I relate to all of that. Of like, I actually this summer, like when I was back home in Wisconsin, I kind of, I think through trauma, like bought this car in Wisconsin that I could live in, and it had shelves for books. And then like I bought it in a haze, and then I brought it to my parents' mechanic, and he was like, "This is a horrible car for California." I was like, absolutely not, Maddie. So I like turned around, I had to sell it. It was a whole thing, but it made me think like, oh, I think that part of my processing of the fire is that I want a vehicle I can live in and like get around in, and I need my home to be mobile. So I relate to that. And I do, and I agree, it's not going to get any easier, especially where we live in California. And like, I haven't used this word a lot, but at the beginning, I was like, we are climate refugees a bit, or some version of
Yeah.
it, you know, and that's not going to go away,
No.
the existence of
No, and
so.
I mean, humans are inherently nomadic. This idea that we stay in one place and the world comes to us through trade is pretty new. So it is maybe just spurning a new era of that nomad life. Well, humans have made it for ourselves with climate change and all that. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, on the one hand, yeah, it's really difficult, but on the other, there is something to be said for constantly learning the lesson about the things in our lives and what they mean. I think I've come around on things, is what I was going to say, is I do like material objects, but the level to which we've taken that is insane. It's like, yeah, you have a family heirloom that's built well enough that it makes it through the generations. Yeah, that means a lot. But I mean, yeah, if you've ever cleaned out a loved one's home after they pass, it's like the things that you don't want, that you can't imagine anyone else wanting because they already have it or whatever, or even just figuring out how to find enough people to get their things. It's disorienting. Yeah, I mean, we're just so far past where we're sorry, I don't work here. Yeah, I'm just doing a podcast. Thank you. Yeah, so it's cool. The bookstore also has a Thai restaurant in it at night, and they have like a really nice
Cool.
natural wine list. So there's yeah, I'm surrounded by books and wine, which is pretty cool. I don't drink wine anymore, but I still appreciate it.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be a wine person,
It's there if you want it.
but I have a hard time with alcohol. I just stay away from
Yeah,
it.
just get
But
into tomatoes or something, you know?
yeah, there's a lot of stuff I could get
Yeah, it's just
into.
about finding something that anything that I mean that's been the thing too, is like anything is fascinating if you spend enough time with it, and everything reveals the world to you if you're concentrated on it.
If you're open to it, it's true. It's like anything can reveal truths, you
Yeah.
know? And I think to tie it in, like the books that I saved from the fire, these old woman's diaries from the 50s, and even that like Sedaris book, I think I cling to that so hard right now, especially because it feels like the opposite of how it feels to be online.
Yes. Yeah, life is supposed to be ordinary. We call things extraordinary because they are extraordinary. They happen occasionally and they're significant when they do. But yeah, we are online. We are living in a world of extraordinary, and nothing and everything demands attention, and the only way to get your attention is to keep raising the bar. Yeah, no, thank you for reminding me of that. It's like, hey, we're not supposed to be entertained all the time. We're not supposed to be in fight or flight mode all the time. And you
Totally.
know, how nice to sort of recalibrate and remember, like, hey, you know, everything's just take everything at face value, and that's actually more than enough. Sitting on the park bench in Griffith Park and overhearing, I mean, LA, everyone is a little extraordinary in Griffith Park, but you know, I mean, park bench anywhere, truly.
Yeah, like going for a walk in LA, and if you don't have your AirPods in, something will happen to you, you
Yeah,
know?
that's been a big thing for me
Um,
recently. Is like, hey, take your earphones out, like, listen. What's the world telling you? And why earphones are such a signal that you don't want to be bothered. And it's like, okay, so I'm leaving the house, putting these things in, and like I'm building a gated community of my face.
totally.
And it's
Totally.
like, listen, overhear an annoying person for a little while at the coffee shop. It's not going to kill you. You're a writer. You're
Absolutely.
writing in your notebook.
Totally.
That person is like God speaking to you.
Absolutely. It's like just go when I take out my AirPods, I'm like, I'm gonna go try to have a new thought, you know? And if you're open to it, like it will happen, you know. I went for a walk with no phone or anything in the last this summer at some point, and immediately I'm like walking by this beautiful home. I hear like a Spanish guitar concert going on, and it's like some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard. And then like a minute later, this older woman comes up to me and she doesn't really speak English. I think she was Chinese, but she lost her dog. And she was like, "Can you help me find my dog?" And then for an hour, me and this woman, and we were barely communicating. I was helping her find her dog, and then we found it.
That's amazing.
And it was amazing. And I'm like, that would have never happened if I just like had AirPods
No,
in.
no chance. And so, yeah, I feel like that's a big theme of our conversation, is just like addressing reality and the work we have to do in this day and age just to address what's in front of us.
Totally. And I think that that is why I like Herzog. It's like, yeah, he's a dude, but that is his whole thing. Is he's like, no, we're foot soldiers. Like, have your eyes and ears open. There's stuff all around, like.
Yeah, and speaking of foot, like there's big passages where he talks about the value of walking. And that's like, it is so valuable. He says he just walks to walk, and like, it's not like, even like, in this day and age, or from my social values, there's like, go for a walk, because then maybe you'll come up with the idea that helps you do this and does that. It's like, no, you just walk. You walk till your feet hurt,
Yeah.
and
We're conditioned to be like thinking everything has to be so we have an idea so that we can monetize our brains and ideas.
Yes.
It's like another sickness that capitalism has infiltrated our brains by. So yeah, I do appreciate anybody who takes me out of
yes,
that.
decommodifying your life. Because yeah, we're even further along than 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah, totally. And he does do that. Okay, I'm sorry I called him a psyop, but it is just worth questioning.
I mean, it could be both.
It could be
It's
both.
both and, Josh. Like, chances are, I mean, look at Jerry Garcia. Like, there's this interview with Jerry Garcia where he's saying, he's admitting, he's like, the Grateful Dead, he's like, we might be psyops. Like,
Yes. Yeah, they say that about like Timothy Leary too, with all the acid stuff.
absolutely.
And even Ken Kesey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, you
Totally.
could be both. In this day and age, we
be
probably
both.
are. We're all propagandists. I mean, that's the thing. It was like one thing I wanted to mention is like, after Charlie Kirk was shot, everyone felt the need to everyone on the internet at least, address the world like a politician. And it's like everyone's giving these statements, and we just all feel so watched, and we all feel so like performative, and like
Dude, it's mind control.
mind control.
Like, I mean, that's a crazy phrase to use, I know, but it kind of is that we feel the need, that we're monitoring each other.
Yeah,
It's like they don't even have to do
right.
it. It's like the machine's running itself. Like, we're watching our peers, that it's like we're all, even the people who are like, we're voting the same, and we're like watching each other, and we feel this pressure to use certain code words and stuff. It's scary to me.
Yeah, so anything we can do to turn back the clock on it feels valuable. And yeah, I really appreciate this conversation for that reason. I mean, for many reasons. I appreciate your presence. Thank you for coming here. Thanks for talking about the year you had. It's fascinating hearing about the books you grabbed and why you did, and everything. I just always enjoy our conversations. So thanks.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you, Maddie. And yeah, be well. And until our next one, yeah, take care. And yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much. And yeah, thank you for tuning into the return of Turek Books after a little bit of a summer hiatus. And happy reading out there. Thank you for listening to another episode of Turek Books. Be sure to like, subscribe, thumbs up, any kind of thing that could help us get listened to or watched by more people. We really appreciated having you, and hope to see you again next week with a new guest and plenty of books. Take care until then.